Lord have mercy, look at how the time goes.
And welcome everybody to this episode of the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. I am your host, John Allen, and today I have a guest that I'm hoping to get to know better as a friend and contact out there in the world. Her name is Kerry Lynn Taft. Hi, Kerry.
Hello, John.
Welcome. I'm talking to you as you sit in Arizona. So it's like 5 o'clock in the morning or shortly after 5 o'clock in the morning there. Wow.
Yes, it's super early. Yes.
And I am super honored that you get up so early for little old me.
Well, thank you for having me.
You know, we're kind of taking this episode on the fly. We didn't plan anything. I just kind of reached out to a group of Americans that I know on a Facebook group that we're both a part of. And quite a few answered, but you had the most interesting answer about things that you could possibly talk about and contribute with. So I'm looking forward to this being kind of interesting. Tell us about yourself. What do you do for a living?
So I am an exercise physiologist.
Yeah.
I teach at a college. I teach fitness classes.
What college?
It's called Glendale Community College. It's located in Arizona.
Glendale, Arizona. Okay.
Glendale, Arizona. I teach fitness classes. I also work in a sports lab. So I'm, coordinating appointments in the lab, running appointments where we're doing performance testing. So testing lactate thresholds on athletes.
Wow. Okay.
Maximal oxygen consumption test. And then we have all of our students in there that do testing as well and learn how to use the lab, learn how to become a fitness professional, and do different testing, different assessments on their clients to better help their clients in the future.
So you're into the whole science of training. You don't just do it, you teach it, and you don't just teach it, you know it through and through. That's very interesting.
Yes. I'm a big nerd, and I love learning. I love reading. So for me, being able to put fitness and exercise and science together is just fantastic. It's a dream job. I love working in a lab. I love teaching. I love physiology just in general, seeing how the body works, how the body responds to primarily exercise. I'm trying to transition a little bit more into the clinical world. So using exercise to combat illness and various conditions like heart conditions, diabetes. Okay, so
you're thinking exercise and its preventive aspects and how it can keep you from getting certain ailments.
Well,
or as a yes. Therapy.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
So my goal is to eventually work in medical research, using exercise to tell us someone's risk of or chance of survivals after surgeries, or, when we expect them to die based off of their maximal oxygen consumption levels. And then just using, fitness as an assessment tool to, older adults and their cognitive health and their activities of daily living, how we can improve their quality of life. And exercise can definitely do that.
Very interesting. That's something that I've always believed in. That's something I've always preached to my friends, associates, and clients. But I don't have that educational background to back it up. So when I talk about the therapeutic aspects of training and what it can do for you mentally, what it can do for you in your social life, in your business life, how physical fitness bleeds over into other aspects of one's life. I talk about that all the time, and I can see, there's varying degrees of reception with the people I talk to. And I think that's, as I said, mostly because I don't have that educational background to back it up. But what level of education does it take for you to? Is it a bachelor's? Is it a PhD?
So most people, Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh no, dogs have rights too. Let them talk.
those are my dogs, and it's 5 a.m. so they're soon asking for food here. But so it depends on what you want to do with fitness. Sadly, and I'm super passionate about this. Sadly, the term personal trainer is not licensed, so anyone can become a personal trainer. You could literally watch a YouTube video and say, I'm a personal trainer.
Right.
However,
it does not require any kind of certification. You cannot waive, or you don't have to waive any kind of a degree or certification in a client's face. You can just call yourself a personal trainer.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you are going to hire a personal trainer, you should most definitely hire someone who's a certified personal trainer. Now, being certified does not mean you've gone through any education other than perhaps the course offered by the organization who's offering the certification. But there are also organizations that just say, here, pay us $500 and take the test.
Right. There's a lot of people there's a lot of people over here in Norway that do this thing I've been hearing about, or I've been hearing about it for years, actually. They go and they take a trip to Bali.
Yes.
They come back 30 days, 60 days later or whatever, and all of a sudden they're a personal trainer with a nice tan.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand that concept. But what about okay, I have all respect for people who go the educational route. But what about someone like myself? I'm 50 years old, snart. That's Norwegian. Soon I will be 51, and I've been training, and I say training, not working out, but training since I was a kid, since I was a preteen. So I have roughly 40 years of experience. How does that situation, how does that package weigh up against someone who goes the educational route? Isn't there a certain amount of practical experience that plays into the whole?
Most definitely. I do think that practical experience does play a role. For those who are interested in this industry, kind of wanting to be a professional, they tend to at least have a bachelor's degree.
Okay.
To do medical research, like I'm wanting to do, I need to finish pursuing a PhD.
Okay. How close are you to being finished?
Oh, I'm not close at all. I have 5 years left.
and that
so
right
maybe
there,
4.
That right there is what makes me say I just have to manage with the brain power that I have. I could not. I don't know. I don't have the patience or the focus to continue a long-term education that goes over. I can watch a YouTube video the last 10 minutes. After that, my attention span is just gone. All respect to those of you who go that route with the education.
Yeah.
All respect.
For me, like graduate school is way better than undergraduate school, because in graduate school, you're actually learning what you're focused on, what you're interested in.
You're getting into the nitty gritty of those.
Have a more engagement, I guess, more enthusiasm towards your goal. You can more see it in sight. But back to your question regarding personal experience, I definitely think personal experience is going to help you. I do not think necessarily you have to have a formal education to be successful in any industry, unless you're practicing medicine or something.
Yeah.
But I do think with a formal education, you have a better chance of being long-term successful.
Sure,
I think the fitness industry is one of those industries that kind of can prove that to be a little wrong, because we do see so many Instagram trainers and Facebook trainers and YouTube trainers, and people who basically are just, kind of like you. Oh, I've been training since I was preteen, and now I want to do that for a living. And then they look the part, they talk the talk, they get people to sign up, they make money, word of mouth. They have a couple of clients that are happy, and then they keep going from there. So I'm not saying that it's impossible. For me, I'm very much into academia. Yeah. So I really value an education.
Absolutely.
but I do think there's definitely a lot of value to having some personal experience.
Sure. I would think that discipline, the discipline that it takes to go the scholastic route. Mm-hmm. Is that a coyote or your dog in the background?
Those are my dogs. I'm about to spray them with the water bottle.
What was I saying? Those who go the scholastic route, you have your 3, 4, maybe 5 years for a bachelor's, and then, another 3 or 4 or up to 5 years for a PhD or a doctorate. That instills, or it requires, a certain level of discipline from that individual. Mm-hmm. And that discipline is worth its weight in gold. Absolutely. You talk about like the Instagram trainers. Some of them are fantastic at what they do, and they have zero education. But then some of them, mm-hmm. they're pretty. They got all the right lumps, as I like to say, mm-hmm. and they're good at promoting themselves. And it's almost like a factory, and they're just churning out the clients, and they're not really giving them any kind of quality in what they do. And that is the downside of not going the educational route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for me, it irks me a little bit because they dumb down my industry.
Right.
So it kind of shows, the average Joe on the street who wants to hire a trainer that, why would I go pay this much more for this person over here who has all the degrees and certifications when I can pay less for this Instagram model over here? And I see that especially now during this COVID-19 period. Yeah. Everyone is now some sort of fitness trainer on Facebook doing Facebook Live classes. And I mean, it's wonderful that people are trying to encourage other people to exercise.
Awaken that awareness of what physical fitness means. Yeah.
Yes. So,
but they're irking you.
Just a tad.
But I understand that. I do understand that.
I see things that people are doing that are so, elementary mistakes, in my opinion, based off of just simple biomechanics, not at a graduate level. This could be, we teach our students this at the associate level before the bachelor's degree. Start with the larger muscle groups, for example. And I'll see trainers start teaching their classes with bicep curls, for example.
I see.
And for the average person, they don't know this. But anyone who's done a certification should know, you need to start with the larger muscle groups. You want to fully prepare the body to work out. You want to get your heart rate up. You want to get your blood flowing, things like that. And then I see someone say, we're going to do a super hard class today. And they start with bicep curls. And I was like, no, don't do that.
Now, where do you see yourself within let's call it the fitness industry? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What is your ultimate vision, the cumulative effect of all the education that you have? Where do you want to be? What do you want to do?
So as far as the fitness industry goes, I've been teaching classes, so dance and fitness for now. This year in the fall will be my 20th year of teaching. And I've been working at the college for about 4 going on 5 years soon. And I truly love being in academia, but I kind of see myself getting out of teaching as many fitness classes. And when I say fitness classes, I mean group fitness.
I see.
Your aerobics class or your Zumba class or your average body sculpting class. I see myself definitely kind of getting out of teaching as many of those as I do. I definitely want to keep teaching a few because it's so fun. Yeah. But I want to work more the medical route. So I want to do research and
fascinating.
So medical research. Yeah.
Fascinating. Hey, I'm a Zumba instructor, believe it or not.
Are you really?
Yes, I am. Awesome. I am probably the heaviest, most powerlifter-like Zumba instructor in the world. 270-pound Zumba instructor. I was actually the first. I do believe I was the first gym in northern Norway to bring in Zumba. This was way back when Zumba first started, and I owned 3 training centers at that time. I'll never forget that. Gosh, we had, there was a line of ladies just snaking out through reception, out the door and into the parking lot, waiting to get in to take those classes. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Yeah. So let me ask you, what is your connection to Norway?
Gosh, well, it started randomly. So both of my parents are American, and I was born in Arizona. My parents, they split up when I was a child, and my mother remarried, and the guy she married was Norwegian. So when I was a little kid, we moved to Norway. And basically I grew up there. I spent almost 20 years of my life there. And then I moved back to the United States.
When did you move back to the States?
7 years ago. I call it my quarter life crisis.
So the first 20 years were in Norway, exclusively in Norway. Or no, you said you were born in Arizona.
I was born in Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
How old were you then when you came to Norway?
10 years old or so.
Okay, so you probably slid right into the society when it comes to language and whatnot, being that young.
Yeah, so when I first moved there, they threw us in a class. It was called mottaksklasse. So I don't really know what you would call that in English, the receiving class.
Receiving class,
know. So they threw us into that class, and I mean, it was children from all over the world. The Middle East, there was a girl from China, there was a boy from Canada, my sister and I from America, or I should say North America. There were kids from all over. But I remember particularly the girl from China and the boy from Canada because they were the only other ones that spoke English.
Okay.
And in that class, they did not speak English to us. And they did not speak any English because it would be unfair for those who didn't speak English. So all they did was speak Norwegian. So,
but how did that help you to learn, or did it help you to learn Norwegian then? I would think.
Well, it did because you had no choice to talk it. So they would hold up, and we were all ages too. So, I mean, my sister's a year younger than me, and the boy from Canada was probably like 4 years younger than me. So it felt weird being in a class as a 10-year-old with a 6-year-old. But they held up little signs that said, like a picture of an apple, and then they would say.
Okay, because that's what I was looking for, was the reference, the reference point. If they're just blabbing in Norwegian, how in the world can you connect that to English in order to do a translation and start to learn Norwegian? But okay, they use pictures. I see.
It's basically kindergarten.
Okay.
It's basically kindergarten for, there was one boy in the class that was 14 years old.
Yeah.
I remember feeling stupid not because I didn't know the language, but because of the way they were teaching us. They held up a spoon and then they said, share. And I understand they were teaching us, but I felt really dumb. And then they tried to keep it like a typical Norwegian school schedule. It was at a Norwegian school, so we were just in our own classroom. But, we did swimming, we had recess and lunch and everything, just like all the other kids did. So it forced us to learn the society and the culture at a way faster rate. And within 3 months, I was already speaking Norwegian. It wasn't fluent, and there was definitely some mistakes. But I was
able to converse and be understood and to understand others. Okay. How about socially? How did you adjust socially? Was it, I'm not sure how old you are, but this was probably a handful of years ago. And
yes.
And I'm not making fun of your age. Good Lord, I just admitted I'm 50, almost 51. So, but did you experience any difficulties being a woman of color? What is your racial background?
Oh, absolutely. I'm biracial. My mother's Caucasian and my mother's deceased, but she was Caucasian, and my father is African American. My name is Kerry. Norwegians can't do, as you know, the American R.
And they can't even say John, so I feel you on that.
Yeah, and so they would call me Kerry.
Yeah.
My sister, her name is Eva, and she would just say Eva because that was so much easier for them. But I would want them to say Kerry.
Right.
And so it was hard. I mean, I was born in Arizona. I had never seen snow before.
Yeah.
I moved in February.
Oh my gosh, you came right in the middle of winter.
Got off the airplane and was like, what in the world? I remember building my first snowman and crying afterwards because my fingers were so cold, and I've never felt that pain before. I will never forget crying. But when I moved there in the early 90s, there weren't many people of color there, and if they were immigrants.
Yeah.
Coming directly from Africa seeking asylum or running away from war or poverty or whatever. So I would kind of just get lumped in with I was an immigrant. That's not wrong to say, but I would be lumped in with, the asylum seeking immigrants, which I was not.
Right.
And I do believe that Norway has broadened its horizons the past 10 to 20 years. But when I was there, everyone still didn't even speak English. Now everyone speaks English there.
Right.
They didn't used to all speak English there.
Right.
And I remember it being so much harder because my mother was Caucasian and she married a Caucasian man. And
then
not looking like, either of those people, getting questions if I'm adopted or where, and let me just side note here, go on a tiny bit of a tangent. When people say, where are you from? I'm sure you've heard this as well. And I say, America, the United States of America. Oh, well, where are your parents from? The United States of America. Oh, but where are their grandparents from? The United States. What are you getting at? Oh, well, someone asked me from Africa. And, in the beginning, I was like, what in the world? Because being born in Arizona, there's people of all races, all ethnicities here. In Norway, you don't see that as much. And, in the beginning, I was like, this asshole is racist. But I think it's just them being
I think it's a lack of knowledge. It's ignorance. Not racism, but ignorance.
And so,
but having said that, there's a lot of ignorant son of a guns walking around here because now 20 years after, 25, maybe 30 years after your experience, there's people who still do that. I get that. Yeah, where are you from? United States. Yeah, but before that, United States. Yeah, but, I've had people insist that there's something wrong with me because I don't speak Swahili. I should speak Swahili because I look like I'm from certain countries in Africa, and they see a problem with the fact that I don't speak Swahili. I try to tell them I have zero connection to Africa. Of course, genetically, going back a couple hundred years, somebody was picked up in Africa and brought as a slave to America. But other than that, I don't have a connection. And I don't miss a connection. I have my roots firmly planted in my family in the United States. And some people here just don't get that. They don't understand that. Right.
And I even noticed, I remember specifically as a teenager, I was probably maybe 14, when you start taking the bus by yourself and thinking you're hanging with the cool kids and stuff. I remember specifically meeting, randomly some boys from Somalia. And they, I almost got it in reverse from them.
Yes.
Because just like you're saying, I have no connection to Africa. I don't speak any of the African languages. And them almost being insulted that I wasn't, attracted to them, because they automatically assume because I'm a woman of color that I'm going to automatically gravitate to a man of color.
Now, these were Somalis, you said?
I never,
Okay.
And I had never experienced any, and this is my ignorance, growing up being born and living the first few years of my life in Arizona, I had never experienced any Africans.
No.
I had only experienced African Americans, meaning people such as yourself and myself who have no connection to Africa.
Right.
So then when I came to Norway and then I saw these people, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're really dark.
Yeah.
And what language are they speaking? And you know, for me, the only other language I ever had heard was Spanish.
Right.
And then I came to Norway and I heard all these languages and I just fell in love with being around a whole bunch of different cultures. But it definitely was difficult being, you know, they would say the brown girl in the class. Yeah. Even my daughter, they say, your mom is dark brown and you're light brown. And my daughter is very Caucasian looking. But, you know, it was hard growing up with a different name, different hair, different skin tone. And, you know, people, even in the 90s, it was hard.
And immigrants here in Norway, to each his own or her own, they can choose how to react to those kind of things. But one thing that I have stood firm on is my doggone name. My name is John, and they try to switch it to Jon or Johan. And I actually had a woman tell me, I was working at a hospital here, just doing some part-time work there some years ago. And I went into the admin office to get an ID card. And she says my name, and she says, yeah, Jon. And I said, no, excuse me. And of course, I'm saying this in Norwegian. I said, excuse me, my name is John. And she looked me dead in the face and she says, in Norwegian, she says, you know, you live here in Norway now, you better integrate yourself and you better get used to the fact that your name is Jon. And my mind went back to the original Roots series where they were beating Kunta Kinte, telling him his name was Toby. And I didn't cuss that woman out, but I said I set her in place, and I used some pretty strong language, telling her what my name is. You know, thinking back on it, I probably overreacted. I should have just let that woman think what she wanted to think. But I do believe that a person's name and a person's identity is what it is. It is that person's name, and it is that person's identity. And I don't think that has anything to do with integration. I mean, they can say, over here in Norway, they say Johnny Cash with no problem. They say John Lennon with no problem. So they can say my name, you know?
Right. Well, also, what if your name was, I don't know, something that you can't translate as easily to a Norwegian version? For example, Kerry. What would be the Norwegian equivalent? That would be Kari. No one has ever in their life called me Kari because that is not my name. Yeah,
and the thing is they can say Kerry. They can, you know. I think think of the former Secretary of State and former presidential candidate John Kerry. They said John Kerry all over the news. Out in society, if they were talking
Mariah about Carey, Jim Carrey.
Thank you. No problems. So I think it is almost, and for goodness sakes, you know, I'm not trying to talk bad about Norwegians in general. We're just pointing out what some Norwegians have, and that is a problem to, I don't know, open up their mind a little bit and understand that thing about identity. You know, for example, I've been here for almost 20 years. I am not a Norwegian citizen. I don't want to be. And some people are extremely offended by that, but it has to do with my identity.
That's very interesting that you say that, because my sister is a Norwegian citizen.
Okay.
And, you know, we have no biological parents that are Norwegian.
No.
We just grew up there from such a small age that it is, and even to this day today, I've been in Arizona now for 7 years. I still identify myself as Norwegian. I'm an American citizen, but I identify myself as Norwegian because I feel more Norwegian than I do American. And I think that is because I spent all of those influential years in Norway. Now, because we have no biological American parents, we were never able to seek Norwegian citizenship without giving up our American citizenship. I don't know if the laws have changed now or not.
The laws have changed. You can have dual citizenship now. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so my daughter has dual, but her father is Norwegian.
Right. Right.
But my sister gave up her American citizenship to get a Norwegian citizenship. And we just have had so many conversations on that. We'll just never agree on that because I don't want to give up my American citizenship. And I'm not saying it's better to be American, but I was born an American and I want to stay one. Well, it's a big
part of your identity. And that's exactly the way I look at it. I take it a step further, though. I feel so grounded in my American identity that even though I can have dual now, they've changed the laws. And after you've lived here a certain amount of time, you can have your American citizenship and Norwegian citizenship. So I take it a step further and say that I'm so grounded in my American identity that even though I don't have to give that up to get Norwegian citizenship, I still don't want Norwegian citizenship. To me, it just would feel strange. No offense, Norway. I mean, there's 5 million of them. I'm not trying to make any of them mad, but
right.
It's I don't know. It's a personal choice. It boils down to identity.
It is a personal choice.
Yeah, and it boils down to identity.
And then that's exactly, and that's the thing. Like, I don't want to give up my American citizenship, but I do identify myself as Norwegian. So
I don't know I don't know how these new rules would affect you in that you don't live in Norway. But again, when it comes to myself, being married to my wife, even if I wasn't married to her, I've been here so long that I can, if I want to, get Norwegian citizenship and keep my American citizenship. I don't know. Maybe you should look into that.
I should. Well, I have residency. I do have residency.
Yeah. Are you very often back and forth, or?
I wanted to go this spring break, but I couldn't do that. Yeah. It just depends. So my daughter actually lives in Norway still. So I do try to go back at least once a year. Yeah. And then she will come here as well. Now,
where is your base, so to speak, in Norway? Is it Oslo or?
It's Lillestrøm. So right outside
Oslo. Yeah. Mm-hmm. City girl.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so one of the kommunes that are right outside of Lillestrøm, but Lillestrøm's like our city, so
I see.
That's what we say. We got city status in 2004, so hiya Lillestrøm.
I tell you, if they give Hokksund city status, then it's okay for Lillestrøm to get city status.
Right?
Yeah, and yes, I'm trying to make fun of Hokksund. I as you know, or maybe you did know, I'm also a stand-up comedian, and one of the things I do in my routine is to talk so much mess about Hokksund. And I don't even know why I do it. I just picked Hokksund, and they just get run through the ringer in my stand-up routine. So there we go. So
that's funny.
So what's it like there? Now you're up on a mountain somewhere in Arizona, outside of Glendale, right? Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm in Phoenix.
You're in
Job's
Phoenix.
in Glendale, but I'm in North Phoenix.
North Phoenix. Mm-hmm. I'm not too familiar with Arizona. Now, North Phoenix, is it more of a suburban, rural type of area, or is it more of a city?
No, we're definitely city status. Okay. I'm not downtown. I actually went downtown the other day, and I took my dog so we could go walking a little bit downtown. And I remember thinking to myself, "Oh wow, I haven't been in the city for a while." But any Norwegian that would come stay at my house, they would be like, "Oh my gosh, this is the city. This is the big city." So I'm about a 10-minute drive outside of downtown Phoenix.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more suburban than actual downtown, but it's definitely still city life. I just live up in a little, I call it a little secret hideaway area because it's hidden away and it's right on the mountain.
I see. But you're far enough out in the countryside to have that coyote problem.
Yeah, so
those sons of guns are pretty bold. You don't have to be out in the country. When I was working in the Chicago area, 20 years ago before I moved here, we would see coyotes not during the daytime, but at nighttime in downtown Chicago.
Yeah, so I live literally on the backside of a mountain. So I'm in a condo, and when I open my back patio, I'm on the mountain.
Okay.
So I don't have like a gated area or anything. So therefore we do have coyote. This past season we had a coyote in heat, a female coyote in heat. So we had all the male coyote, running after her. And they're all crazy and wild. You could hear them screaming at night. And I've had javelina, which for those who don't know, are like the wild pigs, basically.
Okay, yeah.
That run outside here. I've had them come all the way up to the patio door. Had a scorpion inside. I had a snake on the front side waiting for me when I came home, a big rattlesnake. We've had some black widow spiders. I have bunnies outside.
You should start booking. You should start.
I have it.
You should start booking safaris in your neighborhood. It sounds like.
Right.
Jeez.
Right now we're dealing with the bee problem.
We had the
exterminator
really?
come the other day. Yeah, it's crazy. We have.
Don't kill those guys. Let those guys do their thing.
Nest. They're actually pretty aggressive, but the exterminator couldn't find the beehive.
Oh, you know what?
But when you walk outside, you hear a wall of humming from the
And
bees.
now that I think of it, with you being in the Southwest, isn't there a problem with those what do they call them? Were they African bees, a strain of African bees that are extremely aggressive that started in Mexico, and they've been charting their migration up through the last 2 or 3 decades, moving slowly north, and they're starting to come into Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. Have you heard anything about that?
Oh,
I read something about
that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
But we have had a bee issue here last year.
They might be some of those African bees coming to get you because you wouldn't talk to those Somali guys back in the day.
As long as the bees don't sting me, I'm good.
So we had that closeness to nature. Not now where we live. I live pretty much right in the middle of a city, but when we were living up north, we would have big old moose, bull moose, and the cows with the babies right up at our window, right up against the house, and just kind of looking at us and doing their thing. And I kind of miss that closeness to nature.
Yeah, it's basically that, except for the other type of animals.
But so do you feel safe where you are? I mean, you got these, I don't know, have there been any instances of these coyotes going up on people and threatening them or hurting them?
No, not on the people. It's more so watch your animals.
Right, your dogs and cats, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've been bike riding and I see coyotes just jump, walls that are, I don't know, 2 meters high.
Yeah, some little athletic son of a guns then.
Yeah, they just jump up and I'm like, oh, I hope they don't have pets, because it's scary. I'm a little bit more worried about snakes though, because I can't see the snakes as well as I can see the coyotes. So I feel safe. I do feel safe. It's just when it's pitch black out, we try not to go out on the mountain, or we try to go in the front side of the house just because there's a little bit more light there. But I have seen coyotes all the way up, by my car and stuff. So I don't test my guns. Yeah. I don't want to take chances. I do have big dogs, but you never know. Those
coyotes have to be maybe the smartest animals out there. Just look at how they're spread out all over the place. That of course they're out in the wild, but they're also thriving in the cities. There's got to be a certain amount of adaptability and intelligence behind all that. It's pretty fascinating.
Right. I've seen them over by our pool area, just walking around the pool. I don't know if they're trying to get water or if they're trying to see if any cats are going to come, but they act like they own the place, and it is scary. And actually, this past winter, we had a flock of wolves that were spotted.
Wow.
And
really?
I was told by a neighbor that there were some wolves, so she told me to be careful when walking the dogs when it was dark. And I'm like, are you sure it's not coyote? And they had determined Arizona game. And
yeah, they call it it's called a Mexican wolf, is it not? I read about that. It's the Mexican red wolf or something like Mexican, something, and they've migrated up from Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty scary when she told me that. I was like, oh.
So I did
the wolves are even more dangerous than the coyotes.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they got even more of a pack mentality, and they're bigger, stronger, and higher up on the food chain than a coyote.
Right.
Yeah. Now you woke up at 5 a.m. Is that's probably a little bit earlier than than what you're used to getting up?
Actually not. Right now, the whole work from home thing, I've been getting up a little bit later, around like 5:30ish.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. How has your routine changed now with this stay-at-home thing?
It's changed so much. Normally, I get up at 3:30 every day. And I'm a super early riser. I love getting up in the morning where the rest of the world is quiet.
Oh, yeah. I love that morning moment. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. I have some time to, have my coffee and reflect and just prepare myself for my day. And then I, take care of the dogs, normally out the door by 4:45 a.m. and go to the gym. I teach fitness. Well, not now because everything is shut down, but would teach fitness classes at 5 a.m. And then, shower and head to the campus that I work at, and basically just do my day and then come back home and do some schoolwork and stuff. And normally my day would be done around 4 p.m. Twice a week I would teach in the evening at the gym, but I'm an early bird. I love getting up early. I love having those mornings. Are
you any kind of an artist, painter, musician, anything like that? Very often artists are early risers.
Mm-hmm. I think I definitely have a creative soul. There you go. I've played instruments. I've played trumpet, baritone, and trombone. I have played piano.
Cool.
I never pursued it, but I also did dance. In Norway, I danced for a very long time. I worked for the Norwegian Dance Federation.
Oh, did you?
I toured. Mm-hmm, I toured on the Danske Båten.
That's not just anybody who can do that. Good for you. Huh.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And so I definitely think I'm an artist in that sense, and making choreographies and presenting them, giving them to others. I had dancers who would compete internationally and nationally. And it is your artwork when you are teaching someone a dance that you made, and then they're going to use it for a competition that's in a different country. So I would say I'm an artist. I don't think I'm pursuing my art, but I'm very creative. I love music. I love movement. And for me, now my kind of escape from reality is reading.
What do you like to read? When I was
younger, I love to read self-developmental books. So productivity books, just getting the most out of life books.
So you just take every opportunity you can to feed yourself with positivity.
I try to do that because the alternative is so bad. There's so much negativity in the world. Yes. So for example, I don't watch the news. I don't read the news. The most news I get is when I open the Google page, whatever's on top of Google page or Facebook. And I know that, Facebook should not be the place you get your news from. But if there really were a lot of bad things going on where I needed to be informed, I would be informed.
Right. But you're fine with the level of lack of information that you're gathering because of its negativity. I totally get that. I totally do. I don't stay away from watching the news, but I do regulate how much I watch the news because, it gets to a certain point where enough is enough. Yeah, I get it. This, that, or the other horrible situation is going on. I don't need to drown in that every day.
Correct.
So I can walk away. I can walk away from it, and I try to get it from different sources so that there's a little bit of balance in the image that I get. But I have definitely taught myself when to walk away from it.
Absolutely. And I have people, on Facebook I've just unfriended or unfollowed because
you got to get away from that.
Just news, bad stuff. And I don't want to focus on that. We all have shit, excuse my language, but going on in our lives. Sure. We all have bad stuff. And I'm not trying to sit here and pretend like my life is perfect because it's far from, but I want to focus on the good things versus all the bad stuff, and especially the bad stuff that I can't change.
That's an interesting thing you say there, the bad stuff that you can't change, because what I see now in a lot of these discussions on different social media platforms, it's people trying to change the other guy's mind. I have a liberal view and you don't, and here's why you should. And people butt heads, and then it gets ugly, and it goes from being a discussion to being a series of accusations that are flung at the so-called other side. It's just
right.
Why
do you know what I like to compare that with?
Yeah,
I like to compare it with trying to get someone to quit smoking. You cannot make them change their mind about smoking until they're ready to quit, until they're ready themselves.
I tried that about 40 years ago. I tried throwing my mother's cigarettes away for a while when I was like 10 years old. It didn't work. Can't change their mind.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, You're quite correct. Yeah, there comes to, I don't have anything against a healthy discussion or debate, and it can even get heated at times. But people take all of the intellectualism out of that debate when they start with the accusations, when they start with the, you just put a stamp on someone's forehead because they're on the left or they're on the right. I don't know. I ain't got time for that. It's just, it's a bunch of negativity.
No, exactly. And it just sucks out your energy, and there's no point of doing that. And there's been several, discussions where I've maybe posted, hey, this isn't actually true, or hey, where are these facts coming from? Yeah. And then, people just immediately start blaming, the left side or blaming the right side. And then at that point I say, this is my cue to exit the conversation. And then instead of answering, the original question, they'll just start spewing more of their opinion or, like you're saying, those accusations. And then I just realize there's no point, because you won't get anywhere with those people.
It's just crazy. The whole political debate or debating period, whether it's politics or social issues or whatever, it's been dumbed down. Nobody counts on facts anymore. It's all opinion and accusations of the other side. I saw on, was it on Facebook? Yeah, on Facebook, I saw yesterday, there were some pictures and film footage of the people currently protesting the stay-at-home orders in various states. And there were people who were holding up signs saying in different ways that the whole situation is a hoax, the virus issue is fake, it's not serious, and yet those people were wearing goggles and medical masks while they're holding up signs like that. And it's like, where, the intelligence that is supposed to support any debate seems to be gone for the most part. Right. And it's just it's nothing but ugliness.
I also feel that it's that way because, and this is especially for Americans, and I do not mean any offense, but they're so occupied with only caring about themselves and only seeing what they can see in front of themselves versus caring about, other people. And I can have conversations like this all day long, but yesterday I went to the park to work out, and I found a little area where no one else was. And then I saw the park ranger go talk to some people because they were 10, 11 people having American football practice. And I get it. These were high schoolers. They're not the people at risk, blah, blah, blah. But I just thought to myself, okay, there are 11 people there. If each of those 11 people interact with 3 other people today, and those 3 other people interact with 3 other people, they don't think further than...
I'd like to see more people...
Than what they want.
Yeah. People are entitled to their opinions, but since when does politics trump science? And I use the word Trump on purpose. But since when does politics trump science? The facts of science. The science says that even though a person is not currently showing symptoms, they can carry the virus and infect others. Now, I don't see any reason to not believe that. I'm not a scientist, so in my non-scientist, my non-medically educated brain is going to tell me, listen to someone who does have that medical education, and they're telling us what the facts are about that virus, to me, that's good enough to just take it as it is. And if they say stay home, I'm going to stay home because I'd like to live.
Right.
I like to live comfortably without being sick.
Well, I would like for everyone to live, and I'm not fearful of myself getting sick. And I'm fearful of other people getting sick, though. I'm fearful of other people dying from this virus. And when I hear people say, oh, well, let's meet up, let's do this. No, let's not. Because I don't know who you're going to interact with. Or those people are saying stay at home, but then you see them hanging out with 7 other people and they think it's okay because it's below 10 and they're sitting 6 feet away from each other. No.
Well, what do you think
Listen, like you're saying, to what the science says.
What do you think is the reason for people being so defiant, going contrary to what the science is saying about this virus? What do you think is the reason for that? Because it seems pretty widespread.
Yes, and I think there's 2 reasons in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but I think Americans don't like being told what to do. And I think we all have that mentality, it's not going to happen to me. Yeah. It's not going to be me. I'm not going to get sick. So you can't take away my right to go outside. You can't take away my right to meet up with my neighbors. You can't tell me what to do. I think that's very much an American mentality, maybe because I grew up in Norway, so I see it differently. I'm more, definitely lean more towards the socialism side of politics. But, for example, the TV license that you have to pay in Norway, that would never fly in America. And when I tell Americans about, in Norway, they'll come knock on your door and ask you how many televisions you have, and then you'll get a bill in the mail and have to pay a TV license. I see their jaws drop to the floor. They're like, what the hell? Are you kidding me?
I can tell you when
I'm okay with paying that.
Yeah. When I first came here, things like that would surprise me because it was a foreign concept to me to have to pay, pay a government tax, so to speak, in order to watch television. But how do I put this? I can't deny that some of those things were surprising. The amount of taxes we pay here in Norway, for example, and what it goes to. Well, that's the key. It's what the taxes go to. When I see what I get in return for the taxes I pay, then I'm all for it. And people will try to label these so-called socialistic things that are in place here in Norway as something evil. And I don't know. There's a reason why Norwegians are rated as the happiest and wealthiest people in the world consistently at the top. At the very top or the top 2 or 3. There's a reason for that. There's a certain amount of comfortableness and security that the people have over here that I think makes it well worth it to pay some extra taxes and a few extra fees.
Yes. Absolutely. So I wouldn't mind paying higher taxes than what I pay, but it is because I have that mentality that money goes to everyone. It helps everyone. There will come a time and day where you will need that help, where I will need that help, versus here especially in Arizona, where it's a very conservative state, people don't want to contribute to the pot because they don't want to pay for others, because there's so many that do not pay, and I can understand that. But what happens when it's your mother or your great aunt or someone in your family? Maybe you have the financial means to pay for them, but when someone gets cancer and they lose their house because they don't have the correct medical insurance, that just breaks my heart. And
I think it's barbaric. It does more than break my heart. I think it's barbaric to watch citizens just die because they don't have the money, or maybe they get better and they get the medical care they need, but in the process of that they go bankrupt. There's something wrong with that. There's something barbaric. I think for any nation, that nation should be thinking about the collective good. In other words, if you're going to be a great nation, if you're going to be on the top of the pile when it comes to nations and their wealth and their livability and whatnot, wouldn't you want as many people in your nation as possible to have it as well as possible, financially, socially, good house, good job, all that stuff. Wouldn't you want the collective group to be doing as well as possible? And to me, most people say yes to that, and yet they don't want to do things like pay a few extra taxes to provide health care for everyone. I don't know. I don't understand it.
I will never understand it.
Yeah.
There people always ask me when they find out that I'm from Norway, they always ask me, well, what's better? Which do you like more? And
I get that question too.
You can't contrast it exactly fairly, because there are pros and cons with everything.
Sure.
When I moved to the United States, I got a job at a gym, and I basically had to start my career over from scratch because no one knew me in Norway. I kind of had a reputation. I had a name for myself. There's not many people named Kerry that do fitness there. I was well known in the community and stuff. And then when I came here, I had to start all over. I had to prove myself. And I actually got fired from my first job ever because, as you know, in Norway, we don't fire people.
No. Strong unions.
In Arizona, I got fired. And I took that opportunity to start my own fitness business. And that is one thing I will give the United States. It is definitely a place where you can provide yourself with opportunities.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's easier, but you can definitely provide yourself with opportunities. Yeah. And it would not have been as easy to just say, 2 days after getting fired, I'm just going to start my own business in Norway. I don't believe. But when people say what's better, I definitely mention education and healthcare in Norway is better, but there's a lot more freedom in the United States. It just depends on, what you want, what your values are.
Well, what do you put in that word freedom? Explain that. How is there more freedom in the United States than in Norway?
Well, freedom in the sense of, for example, when I tell people that the stores are closed on Sundays, or when I tell them about the Vinmonopolet, their eyeballs jump out of their sockets. Yeah. Because they're like, what? The government owns the alcohol sales? What? The government rules when you can buy alcohol? It's closed on Sundays? Freedom in that sense that you can up and go and do what you want, when you want, however you want, type of sense. I hear you, but I don't. Those.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I don't mind some of those quote unquote limitations that we find in Norway. I don't mind having less hustle and bustle in life, going at a slower pace. I think in the United States, people, when they want something, they want it now, and nothing's going to stop them. They're going to get it right now. In Norway, it's a little slower.
Yeah, it is.
And I think that's what I mean with freedom.
I see. Because I don't feel any loss or any less free over here. Mm-hmm. In fact, in many ways, I feel more free in the sense that I have more free time, if I can put that in air quotes. I do.
Yeah.
I have a better balance between work life and free time / hobbies.
But I think Norway does a good job by making sure we have that type of balance.
Yeah, a normal work week here is 36.5 hours a week, whereas in the States they say it's 40, but I believe the most recent study said that on average American workers are doing 49 or 48 point something hours a week. So there's a big difference, and there's no difference in the productivity between the two states. So that's very interesting. So there's a better balance. Better balance between free time and work over here. So that I do enjoy.
Right. Well, I've noticed with myself, particularly now since we're working remotely, I shut notifications off on my emails. And yesterday I had a coworker call me, and one of the tasks I've been assigned to now during this work remotely time is to offer support for the other instructors almost like a mini tech support. And because I know the learning management system very well. But, I had an instructor call me yesterday. I didn't pick up the phone because otherwise that's all we will be doing is work. And I don't want to. No. I was yesterday. You got to breathe
too. You have to breathe.
Yes. I was just chilling, watching Amazon, having a beer when she called. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to answer because I'm not at work right now.
Yeah, and that should be allowed with a clear conscience.
Yes. But I had to work on that. I had to tell myself that's okay. It's okay to turn off those notifications on the work email because otherwise, as soon as they pop in, I check. I also turned off the notifications on my phone. On my smartwatch because I don't want to be the person who's constantly checking.
That's the best
when
thing.
I look at when I look at my screen time on average, I don't even want to mention my numbers. They're so high that it's embarrassing. I literally look at my numbers and I'm like, what the hell, Kerry? You are on your phone that much. And then I realize a lot of it's obviously for work, but still, it's too much.
Well, one of the best things I ever did, and I noticed the difference immediately, was maybe 6 months ago, I turned off all of the sound notifications on my cell phone. So if someone sends me a text message, or if someone tries to hit me up on Twitter or, whatever on Messenger, all those sounds, I turned them off about 6 months ago. And my goodness, I am so much more relaxed because you get a little kick of adrenaline, a little bit of kick of those stress hormones every time you hear that bell ring or that little buzz or that little sound. Absolutely it is. Mm-hmm. So
I was reading a study and it was showing that we were getting withdrawals from checking social media.
Yeah.
If we didn't get enough notifications, those ding dings on your phone, then you would get withdrawals and we would go in and mindlessly check notifications, on Facebook and Instagram. Am I getting anything? And it wouldn't even make us happy. We were getting, we would get a little bit of adrenaline rush when we would check the notifications, but then it would subside so quickly that you would have to continuously do that. And it's mind-boggling. I too have turned off notifications, especially on all those social media platforms, because I could spend the whole day just answering notifications,
It's so crazy that, it used to be back in the day, people would call you on your landline, and if you weren't there, then you just weren't there, and they had to wait and try to get a hold of you later. Now, if you don't answer that messenger thing, or if you don't answer that, when they send you a message on your iPhone, a text message, and those three little dots come up and they know that you're looking at it. And if you don't answer right away, they get offended. I guess people are just, that wasn't me, by the way, people, that was her dog making that noise. But yeah, if you don't answer right away, people are getting pissed. They're getting offended. Hey man, I saw you. I know you saw my message. Why didn't you answer? And that's just, that's not healthy.
So
that's not healthy.
That reason, no, it's not. But for that reason, I have on all of the. I have an iPhone, so you get those little red receipts, so people can see when I read their messages. I will not turn that off because I don't want to read until I'm ready to respond. Same thing with Messenger. If someone sends me a message, if I'm not ready to respond, I will not read it.
Chill out, people. Remember what it's like to have a normal...
Because I don't want them...
Yeah, people forget what it's like to have a normal relationship, a normal communication relationship where sometimes it takes time.
Well, and then even that with, like, you're going back to the whole landline thing. I want to say, I don't know, a couple months ago, I locked myself out of my house and my car. I was just having a day. I had the keys to the house on the counter, or the car and the house on the counter, and I had my phone in the car, and I was in the house, and I locked the car from inside the house, went to go grab something. Then I was going to go out to the car, and I locked the house door with the twist lock on the door. And then I went out, and then I went to the car, and I forgot that I had locked the car because I had left the phone in the car. So then my phone was also locked in the car. I had no phone. I had no car. I had no house.
Wow.
And so I went to the neighbor's
Exposed
house
for them coyotes. That's when the coyotes are ready to get you.
And I went to the neighbor's house and I'm like, can I borrow your phone, please? And she's like, sure. And then I'm like, okay, wait, whose number do I know? Whose number do I know that can help me get into something? And so luckily I remembered my friend's number, and he has a set of keys to my house and my car. So he could actually come open everything up for me. But at one point I was like, what if I didn't remember that number? I would have been screwed.
Oh, think about it.
I
Yeah.
called a locksmith and paid a whole bunch of money to get into my car or my house.
Or stay out and make friends with the coyotes one way.
Yeah.
Wow. That's, I can just picture myself. There was a time where if I would forget my cell phone, not lose it, but just leave it at home. Forget to put it in my pocket as I went out the door, and you drive off, and then 10 minutes later you realize you don't have your cell phone, and that feeling, that little empty feeling in your chest where your heart drops, and it's like that's just not good. That's not healthy.
Right.
You should be able to survive,
right.
a day or so.
I started to put my cell phone, leave it in the car in the glove compartment. So when I'm driving, it turns on like a drive mode so that text messages don't come through. Yeah. And then I'll put my playlist on and I'll put it in the glove compartment so that I don't deal with it while I'm driving. Right. But then when I started going into the grocery store and stuff too, I'll just leave it in the glove compartment because I don't need my phone when I'm going grocery shopping.
You really don't.
And so
it's habit to carry that thing around.
It is. And when you're carrying it around, you tend to look at it.
Yeah.
And if someone else gets a message and you hear their sound, you tend to look at your own phone for no reason. I didn't feel a vibration. I didn't hear a sound. And I still tend to look at my phone. So I've started to slowly leave my phone if I'm just going for a short errand, either in the car or at home, because I am very dependent on my phone and I don't want to be.
It's a weird social development. It's just strange that stupid little hunk of metal is so important to us. Strange.
It is. And it's not comfortable being addicted to something like that.
It's not. I don't think I'm addicted to now I'm going to do a little introspection here. I don't think I'm addicted to my phone. I need it. It makes my life easier. With the things that I do need to contact people, and I need to be contacted. I guess that thing I did, about 6 months ago, cutting off all of the notifications and all the stupid sounds, buzzes, and bells, that was my acknowledgement of, I don't know, that was my me raising my fist to this bully that we call a cell phone. Just by turning off all that stuff, it just made things easier. It made me have a more relaxed relationship with that stupid phone.
Yeah, I did that too, but I found myself still using it a lot. That's why I think I'm
even
addicted.
Without the notifications.
Yeah, wow. And so
So you were hooked.
Yes. So I turned on on the iPhone. You can set limits for how many minutes you're able to be on certain apps.
That's a good solution.
I do have a limit for Facebook and Instagram.
How many minutes a day or hours a day?
60 minutes a day.
60 minutes a day. Mm-hmm. Does this messenger chat count towards that?
It does not,
because we've done an hour and 7 minutes so far.
Yes. So no, this is actually through Messenger. I don't have a time limit for Messenger.
Okay.
But I don't have the notifications on. So actually Messenger doesn't even pop up on my phone unless someone's calling me. So I actually have to go in. So sometimes I'll forget that I even have Messenger. But
it'd be interesting. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I put the limit so that it will automatically shut off the app. And then if I try to go back into the app, it says you've met your time limit, and then you can bypass it for 1 minute, 15 minutes, or for the rest of the day.
Okay, but it just makes you aware that you've gone over
more aware. Yeah. Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
It would be interesting to see how many minutes I'm on social media. I don't think I'm on social media a lot. It's not like I sit down and I'm on it for an hour or two, but I bet you it adds up during the day. I do post quite a few things throughout the day, whether it's on my artist account or on my private account, or Twitter or whatever. I don't know.
Same thing with me.
Yeah, I don't feel that it takes up a large part of my day, but maybe I should check out that app and see how long I'm on.
I recommend checking it out because for me, I'm never on Facebook for more than 10, maybe 15 minutes max.
Well,
but it is all of the 1 minutes here, the 2 minutes there, the 3 minutes there. Yes, and I do use Facebook for work. I'm posting on our social media. We have 2 Facebook pages that we do. We have 2 Instagram pages. For one of the Facebook and Instagram pages, I'm the one who runs the page. So when I post things, I use Hootsuite, which is, have you heard of that?
Yes,
So I'll just plug everything in. It'll get scheduled. It'll go out. But you need to also make sure you have time to answer people and,
That's true.
That's respond
important.
to their comments.
Yeah.
And then as of now, we're doing tons of videos. For one of the gyms I teach at, we're doing live videos. So I'll go into the gym and teach a live video. Then, I want to connect with my participants. So after the fact, I'll come home. I'll respond to comments and likes and all of that. And then, I'll put it away for a little bit. And then I'll have more comments based off of those comments. And it's a never ending cycle.
Yeah.
And so even if I'm only on for 3 minutes here or 2 minutes there, it totally adds up throughout the day. And I'm just
but you're not really you're not on there just screwing around. It sounds like you are mostly in the context of work that you're on there. And that's okay, isn't it? Or
mostly. I mean, I do post some stuff on my private page. But I am there. Definitely, I would say 75% is for work. But I stopped the mindless scrolling. Yeah. One thing I learned was to not scroll while laying in bed. And when I do reach for the phone in the morning, I don't need an alarm anymore. But before I would use an alarm, the first thing I would do is check Facebook. There goes 10 minutes of your morning for no reason.
And it's not healthy to wake up to everybody's bullshit from the night before. That's not good.
Exactly. And I'm not even getting stuff necessarily from the night before because I have so many friends in Europe that, and I'm assuming you realize this is yourself with all your friends and family in the United States. Because of the time difference, you're constantly getting notifications.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty good at grouping it into blocks throughout the day. I really do make an effort to not let myself get consumed by social media. I use it in a business sense, and I use it also just for the fun of it. But it's I try to keep a good balance. I mean, I like to live in the here and now. I hate it when I'm at a function and people are filming it. Like if we're at a concert or some sort of live performance and people are filming, put your doggone phone down and watch the performance. So I apply that thought process over to the social media thing. If I want to know how somebody is doing, I'll pick up the phone and call them, or I'll do a video chat with them. The scrolling just to check out what everybody is up to. That's I don't know. There's something that's just not healthy in that. It wasn't meant to be. Life wasn't meant to be like that. It wasn't meant to be like that. It's not natural.
Right. One thing that I will say that's been positive with this whole COVID-19 is that I've definitely connected more with some friends that, I love to spend time with, but we have been so busy and our schedules have conflicted. And I live in North Phoenix. I have some friends that live in South Phoenix, and we never meet because it's so hard to get our schedules to work. And then everyone has family, school, other commitments, blah, blah, blah. But now we're able to actually say, okay, Friday night, let's do game night. And all of us will log on and we'll do, we had girls' night, had some drinks, played some games, chatted, and we just had so much fun. And I will say I've definitely been video chatting a lot more with my friends and connecting more because now I feel like there's less distractions in the world because we're not running from place to place.
Right.
I love that. I love having standing appointments with some of my girlfriends
that's great.
To FaceTime and talk and it helps to feel connected to people, especially now in a time where we're not really seeing people.
Right. Yeah, they're saying isolate at home, and that can have a different effect on you socially if you're alone. You're single now, right? Oops, the sound is gone.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I had you on mute for a second there. Okay. Yes, I am single. So I'm alone a lot. And I've noticed I've been more sad, honestly.
Really?
I've had more of those highs and lows, I would say, with the whole stay at home order, because I don't see people. And at work, when I used to go into work, I'm teaching classes with 20, 30, 40 people in the class. So you're getting a lot more socialization versus now that I'm not getting that.
Yeah, now you're missing that social stimulation. That's right. You're used to being in front of a good-sized crowd on a consistent basis. Yeah.
Yes. So for me, it's been really hard. And, I've done online dating. I've actually been on a couple of virtual dates.
Hold on now. Let's stop right there. Online dating. Okay, now.
It could be a whole podcast in its own.
How does that work? I'll just ask you. As a woman, women are not less than men, but women in general are much less strong, or they're a lot weaker physically than a man. So when you do an online dating thing and you're going to go out there, when it gets to the point where you're going to go out there and meet that stranger, Wait, what was that? That was interesting. You there?
I'm here. Sorry. The puppy bit the big dog.
Oh.
It's feeding time, and the puppy gets a little crazy.
You're talking about how you're feeling it with the isolation. Maybe they're going a little
nuts.
Oh,
my gosh. You should. I'm going crazy with these dogs. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I have to separate
them.
Hey,
we keep it live here. No editing here. So
well, yes.
Isn't there a certain amount of fear?
I'm not afraid per se. I don't think you should live in fear, but
there's a certain reality that has to be acknowledged. Okay, yeah, you're not dumb about it.
I would never go meet someone in a private place. No. Always in a public place. So that first meet, when it's not dark out.
Okay, so that first meet is like, lunch at a cafe coffee somewhere or something. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's coffee at Starbucks. And
how long have you been online dating then?
Honestly, it's been on and off.
Yeah.
I have been single for over a year, and then prior to that, I was with a guy for a while that I actually met online. It was good while it lasted, but it didn't last. And so I've recently started online dating again, but I've been on and off. I feel like with my job, it's hard to meet someone because I don't go out. Like, I don't go to bars, and I don't go partying per se. Well, I'll go to a bar every now and then with some friends, but like, I don't go partying. Okay. And since I work at a school, I'm definitely not going to meet anyone there. And so for me, it's just been more of the like, where am I going to meet someone? All of my friends are married or in, relationships and stuff. So I feel like that's more so my reason of doing it.
Yeah. Has it ever gone totally south? Has it been, maybe the guy has misrepresented himself and then you meet him live, so to speak,
absolutely.
And it's like what's a typical experience if it goes wrong like that? What can it be like? What's the worst?
Well, I
ask because I really don't know. I have no idea. I've been married for 20 years, so.
Yeah. Well, one of my closest friends, she actually just celebrated in December her 1 year wedding anniversary with the guy she met online. So
Okay.
it definitely works. I have another friend who has been with a guy for like 5 years, and they met online. I honestly think that's kind of a new way of dating in our
Yeah, it
society.
seems to be. It seems to be.
But I've met guys who have definitely posted pictures from their college years, and now they're in their 40s, or pictures where they were a lot lighter than they are now. But I'm sure that goes both ways with both men and women. And I've also had guys who are like, yes, it is terrible because you feel like you wasted your time.
I'm just wondering, what are they thinking? They're like, okay, I'm going to send her the picture when I was, 100 kilos with a washboard stomach, and now they're 150 kilos and as round as a Pillsbury Doughboy. What are they thinking? How could they think that is going to get them anywhere?
Right.
Strange. So what do you do?
Right.
What do you do when you're met with that situation? You thought you were getting Apollo Creed, but Cleveland from the Family Guy shows up. What do you do?
I mean, you're polite. You have coffee, and then you go home, and you thanks but no thanks. You know what I mean? I'm very opinionated. I'm very independent. I'm very strong. A strong personality. So I will tell a guy like, thanks, but I don't think this is going to work out. I don't mind doing that. But, I've also met guys who are incredibly handsome. They're just, drop dead gorgeous, but then they're idiots. They have nothing between their ears, or they're so, I would say small-minded, or so, their personalities are so strong that you just know that we're going to butt heads and it's just not going to work.
I sit here trying to think, I plan on being married with my wife until one or both of us dies. But when I look out there at this phenomenon, I call it a phenomenon because for me it's so foreign, this idea of online dating, the idea of dating, period. How do you do that? How do you how do you do it? How do you get to know somebody? How do you open yourself up for that sounds like a stupid question, but to me it really is a foreign concept to try and make myself presentable for a woman. I'm married to my wife. She sees me every day. I don't have to prove anything. Yeah.
It's not, it's just as hard, I think, as being in a regular relationship. Mm-hmm. But it's the way of life now. I think technology is such a big aspect. And that is how we're connecting, even like on social media. So basically, it's just a different social media site.
So that connecting process. How long do you? I don't know. Do you chat with them? Do you have video meetings first before you actually meet face to face? How long does that process last before you give yourself and them the opportunity to get to know them better?
So I think that varies from person to person. So
what's your routine?
So I'm probably not the right one to ask because I am like, I'll put a guy through the ringer. Maybe that's why I'm still single. Because I'm very strict on certain things. I definitely want to talk for a little bit. I want to do a phone call. I want to make sure, preferably a video chat. I want to make sure you are who you are. But there is no 100% guarantee that someone is who they say they are. There's no guarantee that that's what, they can be the sweetest, nicest guy online and then they're an asshole in person. But that can be in real life too. You can meet someone in real life at a bar or a restaurant or coffee shop, whatever, and then start talking to them. And then, 1 month down the road, they turn out to be a psychopath. That could be any time. So I've had guys where I've talked to them, for a month before I dated them or went on an actual date. I've also had guys I've spoken to for 2 days and then gone on a date.
Okay. So you just kind of feel it out and see what happens. Yeah.
Every connection's different. So I kind of started online dating again in right before this whole COVID thing hit, and I am kind of conducting my own research.
Okay. How so?
In the sense of I didn't put any pictures up of myself.
Uh-huh.
So I put up a picture of a sunset that I took. It's from the mountain where I live. I took that picture.
Yeah.
And then I did write a little bit about myself. I just put that I'm a teacher. You know, I put my age. I put that I'm outgoing. I'm positive, caring. And then I will see, you know, if I match with people. And I have so many guys say, how come you have no pictures? And I tell them it's because of several reasons. One, I don't want to meet any of my students online. Two,
yes.
I think that a guy who just is looking for a hookup probably doesn't want to actually interact with someone he doesn't know if he's physically attracted to.
Right. They're not going to put the time into it.
Correct. Now, I really do think that physical attraction is important.
Sure.
So obviously, I'm only, you know, liking guys that I'm physically attracted to. So maybe it's kind of a, you know, being a little bit of a hypocrite. But
No, I don't think there's I know
that I'm looking for a long-term relationship. I'm not looking for a hookup. You know, I'm looking for a genuine connection.
Well, they got to look good. First thing I noticed on my wife was that booty. I'll say that loud and clear. That's just the truth. You know, the physical attraction, you cannot ignore that. That is part of the package.
Right. And so I feel like they have to hold a little bit more of a conversation with me before I want to truly expose myself, I guess. So if they are willing to, you know, talk a little bit, then I will send a picture and I'll just give them like my Instagram account so they won't actually have my phone number or anything.
Right. And then they can maybe look through your Instagram account and see, okay, this is what she looks like. This is, you know.
And so for me, I've personally found that I've been speaking more in depth with people versus when I would have a picture up, even if I would say I'm not looking for anything, I'm not looking for a hookup, I want something serious, people would still try to match with me. And still, you know, I think guys, there's probably women out there that do it too, so this is no offense to the men, but I think guys are like, oh, challenge accepted. She says she doesn't want to hook up, challenge accepted. I genuinely feel people are like that. And so I think that since I have no picture up, they are less prone to contact me if they feel like it's going to be more work.
So it's almost like a natural selection type of thing. The ones that do stick it out, even though there's no picture, they're the ones that are maybe going to take the whole thing and take you more seriously. Because I have so much, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think I'm attractive. Sure, you are. I'm looking at you on the video. You're a nice looking woman. Absolutely.
Thank you. But I'm also very smart. I'm very ambitious. I have goals. I'm very caring. There's a lot of positive attributes that I can bring to the table. And I want to promote those more than, you know, how I look. Yeah. Even though I do understand that physical attraction is very, very important.
Sure.
There's so much more to me than just that.
Yeah.
So, that's why. And so I feel like all of the connections that I've been making have definitely been more, there's more depth to them than from before when I actually did have a picture. Wow. But now, you know, we're not dating because of COVID. Yeah. So now it's like, hey, let's have a date on Thursday night at 6:00. We'll have a video date. You
go. Yeah. And
And those connections are almost even more important to me because then I can see, can they hold a conversation?
Yeah.
Are they? Yeah.
Yeah. If they're a babbling fool and, you're just going to be able to read a person when you have that face to face, so to speak, by video, that conversation. Then you can read them a little bit better and see what you're getting into.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I feel for me, and it's only been friendships this far, but I still feel like that's okay because those are people I'm actually able to talk to and hold a conversation with, and they can become good friends. So.
Maybe I should have my wife like go sit in the living room. I'll sit here in my studio and we can do video chats and see what that does for our marriage.
Right?
We've been together for 20. We've been married for 20 years, but can we still talk to each other? Well, let's give that a try on a video chat.
I don't want anyone to have to do online dating though, because it does suck. I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, but just like with regular dating, there are pros and cons.
Yeah, I'm not knocking online dating, but it is very strange. And strange is okay. I'm not putting anything negative in that word, but it's I don't know. It's different. It's strange.
One thing that I do find to be, I guess, more challenging with online dating versus meeting someone in a more, older traditional manner. I think now online dating is a traditional manner, but is that it's just like with everything else. We want instant gratification. And so if you don't tick off all of the boxes as quickly as someone wants you to, I feel like it's okay, next. And I'm probably guilty of doing that myself with guys.
I wonder if that's why so many marriages fail.
Oh, probably.
They have that first
accelerated.
They have that first argument, and then that's it.
Next.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Not willing to put in the work, not willing to compromise, and a relationship is give and take. And
I have to work a lot with my wife. I don't think she's human. I think my wife is. I think my wife is an alien with a couple of data chips that need to be renewed. She's a bizarre little thing.
Maybe that's why you guys work so well.
Well, she keeps me on my toes, that's for sure.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I have to be careful saying she's an alien. My kids, I used to say, I've been saying that for years. And I remember one of the first times I said it, and our kids were like maybe age 5 and 7 at that time. And they just kind of slowly looked at me and then looked at their mother. And I could just think, oh my gosh, I can't be telling these little children that I think their mother's an alien.
No.
Oh boy. Time and a place.
That's funny.
My wife takes a lot of teasing from me, but I tease because I love.
Yes.
I'm glad she doesn't come. I'm glad she doesn't come to my stand-up routine because I get pretty. Well, she's famous. I'll put it to you that way. I don't think she'd be. I think she'd be sharpening her knife if she heard some of the things I say about her in my routine. So.
That's funny. Do you get more nervous if she does come?
Well, she's only been to one. The very first time I was on stage, she was there, and I was not nervous. I don't know. I guess I'm a bit of a showboat. What I've found is when people, like for example, if I'm performing music, if I'm on stage and I know that someone out there in the crowd is a close friend or someone, I like to find them and I like to perform to them. It's like I'm showing off, hey, look at this, I can do this, tell me afterwards how much you like this, It's like that.
Yeah.
So it's that showboat thing. So no, I don't, although my wife has not come to my stand-up routine since that first time, if she were to come, I wouldn't change. I think it would actually make my routine better if I could say what I say about her and then point to her in the crowd and say, yeah, everybody, there she is. And it would just bring it would actually probably bring a whole another aspect to my stand-up comedy routine. So, but it just
interesting.
But it hasn't really worked for her to come. She works a night shift, a lot of night shift. And she doesn't really think I'm funny. And that's what I think her funny microchip that the aliens put in her is malfunctioning because she's just different. She has I think Norwegians in general have a different sense of humor, but her sense of humor is different from that again. So she's like 2 steps. Yeah. She's 2 steps removed from what I think is funny. So it just puts extra challenge on what I have to say to make her smile. So. But I do. I have a goal. I have a very conscious goal that I will make my wife and our 2 kids smile at least once every day. I'm sorry, not smile, laugh. I will make them laugh every day, regardless. So That's a daily goal
That's a
that I
great
have.
goal.
Yep, absolutely. Daily goal that I have.
Well, if she doesn't think you're funny and she is actually laughing, then that means that you must have said something really funny.
Yeah, because she's a hard one to please. It's hard to make that woman laugh. Listen, Kerry, how do people find you on social media? Are you most active on Instagram or Facebook?
I think I'm most active on Facebook. I'm trying to migrate a little bit more towards Instagram just because I feel that that's kind of what society is doing as well. But I'm on both. On Instagram, my handle is PT Kerry.
And that's Kerry, Kerry.
Mm-hmm.
PT Kerry.
And then on, for personal trainer, Kerry.
Yeah.
And then on Facebook, it's Kerry Lynn Taft. So
and it's Lynn, Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Taft, like President Taft. So
I
always make this joke about my presidential name, Taft, like President Taft, Kerry, like John Kerry.
There you go. Listen, I have really enjoyed myself talking to you. I've seen you kind of floating around there on social media. We're in a group of Americans in Norway together. So I see you floating around in there, and this has just been enjoyable to talk to you a little bit. I think the listeners will enjoy this podcast episode when I post it up.
Thank you so much for having me and dealing with my craziness of life and dogs and time difference and online dating and everything.
Well, I like what you're doing as far as the fitness aspect of things. It fascinates me with the education that you have and the knowledge that you have. It's a different facet of fitness than what I am used to. I'm into the powerlifting and things like that, whereas you have a more cerebral, a more doctor-ish medicine view over the whole thing. So it's been fascinating. I could see myself inviting you back to talk more about that. Let the nerd, let the nerds and geeks hear what you have to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I suggest checking out an initiative called Exercise is Medicine. There's tons of free resources. It's an initiative that's in, I don't know how many countries, but a lot of countries. And basically it'll kind of break down in, 6th grade level, benefits of exercise, health benefits of exercising and using exercise as medicine.
Do they have a Facebook page or a web page?
They're on Facebook. If you just Google Exercise is Medicine, it'll all pop up. It's an initiative from American College of Sports Medicine, but they're all over the world.
Let's see, what did you call it? The American, I'm writing this down.
American College of Sports Medicine.
Okay. I will make sure that I give them a shout out so that people hear what that's all about. The Exercise is Medicine Initiative from the American College of Sports Medicine. You're so cerebral. Not that I'm a meathead, but the more cerebral, like I say, the if I can use the word doctorish view of sports, of training, of health, is fascinating. I think people who otherwise don't have that deep education can have a little bit of learning to gain just from listening to people like you and getting your take on things.
Yeah, for me, I've had people who, want to gain muscle. They want to do like heavy lifting. I've had people who want to lose weight. I've had moms right after having a child just want to get back into the gym. I've had all types of clients, kids, older adults. But for me, exercise isn't necessarily about looking good in a bikini or how many pounds or kilos you can squat. For me, it's using exercise. I knew you would say something. It's me using exercise for health and teaching people how they can be healthy, lower your risk of heart disease or high blood pressure or stroke from walking 30 minutes a day.
Sure. As much as I am, into the powerlifting aspect of it and wanting to better my personal records and whatnot, as much as I'm into that, I'm even more into the broader sense of training and fitness and what it can do for a person mentally and emotionally, and how the discipline that you find within a training routine or a sports discipline, how that can bleed into your life and carry you onward. That's my thing. So within that whole thing, I could see you and I having another podcast episode that's maybe 2 hours long talking about those things. Yeah.
Yes, there's so much research out there that shows how exercise can improve quality of life.
Yep.
So that's a topic I will never get tired of talking about.
Well, that's good to know. I'll definitely be inviting you back, maybe a little bit later, so you don't have to get up at 5 in the morning.
I'm good at early in the morning, so whenever.
Okay. Well, watch out for those coyotes. Stay alive, and then we will definitely talk again.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Kerry Lynn Taft, everyone. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Okay. I will talk to you later.
Okay. See ya. Bye. Okay, everybody. That's Kerry Lynn Taft. And I just want to say thank you all for being with me on this episode of the Coming Home podcast with John Allen. Bye, everybody.
I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Yes, I am. Yes, I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Yes, I am. I know